Hi, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be
That-
here.
yes, listen, your ads are so creative. I have to
Thank
give that
you.
to you, ma'am. Very, very creative. And you know what's wonderful? It's a camaraderie between all of us. Don, yourself, all of these people. Don has a huge following, and and you as well, and all of the social people on social media. We're coming together, and well, not all, but a lot of us, because
Mm.
there are so many that are, the government, and some, it's alleged that some are being paid. Nobody paying us no $8,000, but we are for the people. And I just want to commend you, along with Bunga Lights and Lumumba and Matthew B and everybody who's joined together, put our resources down, to fight, what these injustices that are being put on us by the
Yes,
government. Ma'am, welcome again.
thank you.
Yes, yes. Well, Stephanie, you're going to be at the march. You always giving us lyrics on that truck. You're going to be on that 40-foot container tomorrow, truck.
Yes, most definitely. I will be there.
Listen, how we going to you and I, we they put the little ladder and you and I climb up on the truck. How we going to, Dave, put back that 40-foot container if you can, my love, on there. How you going to climb up there? You figure out how you want to climb up
We
on
have
that 40
to.
foot?
We have to. We will find a way. We have to.
Yeah. Now, what's on your mind? What would you want to say to Barbadians about this march tomorrow?
Well, what I will want to say is this, right? I know a lot of persons have a lot of speculations as to why persons go and march, but I feel like what persons do not understand is that despite the fact that it seems like we are marching for nothing, we're actually marching against injustices. And we are actually the voices for those who are voiceless, the persons who feel like they cannot speak out, the persons who are fearful of being victimized or discriminated against when they actually do speak out. And like for most of the marches, what I have realized is that a lot of Bajans do not understand that a lot of things have been either stopped because of the marches, because we have been speaking out, because we have been advocating. And I think Bajans need to get more up to date with what is going on. I don't always know what is going on, so I'm very thankful to you for that. But Barbadians need to get more up to date. So when things happen, they are aware why they are happening.
Yes, and it
And
is it is
also,
out.
come out tomorrow.
Yes, they need to come out tomorrow because
Yes.
part of, you talk about the show, bringing that education, and this is a good moment to shout out, to people like, I mean, who started this education, like Caswell Franklin, who started this education, and and Maxine McLean and Glenn Murray, and the list goes on. Kimar Stewart, who was on the show, all of these people that put their hearts and minds together, and they spend the time, the quality time. Dr. Ferdinand Nichols, Rose Corbin, all
Yes.
of these people who spend the time to research. I mean, when you look at the wonderful sessions that have been had on the show, because we believe in education, but then there comes a time that we need to agitate for change, and that's
Yes.
where the protests come in, right? That's what
Yes.
happens when we do the protests, etc. And so that, that's what people need to understand, that it's not just sitting down and listening, but it's going out there. But I saw that, today, I just want to hear your viewpoint on this, because you talked a while ago about people speaking out, and they are being victimized, and it's now being alleged by the nurses at the geriatric hospital, that they spoke out during the outbreak that we had with the scabies outbreak. They spoke out about it, and because, I was told that they were, the authorities there at geriatric hospital, they were putting patients that had scabies with those that didn't. And so the nurses protested, because they said, you're going to inflict this or affect the
Yeah.
people who, these elderly people who are not yet infected is the word I'm looking for, by
Yes.
this disease. And so because they protested, it is now being alleged that they're being transferred. So you have nurses who are like 60 years or so, that they're moving, they're saying you're going to take a bus or two buses from St. Michael to St. Lucie because you spoke up. I heard now that the unions are going to be investigating this. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts on this will be very short, right? Because I think that we have to realize that we are to the point where nothing should be unexpected. When we see these things happening in at these times, in the times that we're in now, it shouldn't be like, oh, why is this happening? We should almost come to expect that these are the things that are going to happen because of everything else that is happening. Am I
Correct.
clear? You understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, no, you're
Yeah.
right. You're very, very right. And I was reading one of the comments there, but we have to expect that, and that is why tomorrow the whole thing about making noise is so important, because sometimes they stay in parliament or wherever, press conferences, and they whatever they say, they think it's going to intimidate people,
Yes.
and victimize people. And so this is why it is so important, Stephanie, that people actually come out to defy them, because we should, as you said, we should expect, right, that this is
Yes,
what
we
is going to
should.
happen.
But Marcia, I think we also have to be mindful of the fact, right? That even though we say yes, persons should come out and they should speak out, there is a reason for fear. Because
Uh-huh.
you may not have an issue with coming out and speaking out. Someone else may not have an issue. But when you think about those other persons who are in certain jobs, and if their faces are seen in the newspaper or a part of certain things, they will be victimized. So they have to think about what's going to happen if I lose my job and they can't feed my family, they can't pay my bills. And for me, that takes me back a few years ago when I myself, I would have been advocated when the school was having the environmental issue. And for me, it was just me doing what I know I needed to do. But then I was victimized. My children were victimized because I
Wow.
spoke out. And I still go through victimization. And people will want me to believe that, oh, she's just talking. That's not true. But I know what I know. And I'm to the point where if it's right, I'll stand with it. And if it's not, and I believe I need to speak out, I'll speak out.
Yeah,
We can't
because
afford to be fearful because they're going to use fear and intimidation to silence us. And that is exactly where we're headed.
And that's why tomorrow we are making noise on the streets. And it's a deliberate thing. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
almost like by divine order, we are to make this noise, because we are getting a big sound system, a big truck, and paying a fraction of the cost for it, something that is $3,800. And here it is, we are paying $800. And the guy is
Yeah.
like, he's like, let's have some fun on the road, he said to us. So I don't know if he knows what we do and just want to get in the do, but we are so grateful, and I'm happy, and I know you're gonna be on that truck, girl,
I will be.
talking.
God's
But
crazy life, I will be.
you're one brave woman. You were an independent candidate
I
for
will.
that by election in St. James North.
Yes.
Wow, tell me about that.
Firstly, what I would have to say, Marcia, you just said that I am a, repeat what you just said. You just said that
A
I am a,
brave woman.
I was not brave. I was out there by the grace of God. God carried me every time I went out into the constituency because, as I have told persons, if I had to do it on my own, I would not have done it. But it was
Mm-hmm.
just something inside of me that says, Stephanie, this is something that you need to do and you're going to do it. And for me, the experience was great. I enjoyed every day that I was out in the field. I walked every step of the way, like I said before. And I really enjoyed talking to different persons. And they were really welcoming, despite the fact whether they were red or blue, yellow, whatever, everyone were welcoming. They were very welcoming to me. I enjoyed myself. And I'm going to do it again.
You're gonna do it again. That
I
is
am.
wonderful. That is
I am.
wonderful. And you had some conversations with Mr. Chad Blackman, because I remember when everything was over, you told me that you're going to, I don't know if you remember, but you said you're going to try to work with Mr. Blackman and so on, and continue working in the constituency. And in my head I was like, wow, I wonder how that's going to work. But talk to us about St. James North and what you're seeing in it, even now that the election is over there. Talk to me about that and your relationship, and your connection with Mr. Chad Blackman.
Okay. Well, for me, right, when I first met Mr. Blackman in the field, I was a bit skeptical. I was a bit skeptical because I'm always mindful of new persons in my space. And sometimes when you say, like, sometimes when I say I'm an energy person, persons don't understand what you mean. But we have to be mindful of the persons who come into our spaces, right? And when I met Mr. Blackman, he seemed like a person who was really interested in working in the community, finding out what is going on with the persons, the constituents, and stuff like that. And I remember he would have said to me before the election night and on the election night, when Miss Williams, I spoke to you and I listened to your interviews. I like what you had to say. I like your ideas. And we're gonna sit down, we're gonna talk after the by-election. And I wasn't through the roof about it. I was like, it's neither here nor there. But I remember that I had messaged him like a week after the by-election because I wanted to give him time, saying that he had a new portfolio. That was a lot he had dealing with. And he didn't respond back to me like until like 3, 4 weeks after. And I put that down basically to the fact that he had made a Facebook post stating that he had spoken to some constituents and they had made reference to the fact that they would have messaged or they would have called, and he was yet to get back to them. So that kind of put me in my feelings again because, like, all of these things you were saying during the by elections, I know the by elections is finished, you do not have time to respond to your constituents. And even though, if I may add, even though I did not win a seat, I believe I have won a seat because I still have constituents who reach out to me. We talk. I want to know what's going on with them. They want to know what's going on with me. And I believe that that is the way it's supposed to be, whether you're in a position or not, right? And I just feel like when you are a minister, you have a responsibility to the people. You should be accessible to your people, right? And if I may also add, I was a little bit taken back maybe about 2 weeks ago. Mr. Blackman had came out and said he has this new program, this wellness program. And I was like, huh? And it put me in my feelings, Marcia, because I remember him saying to me, Stephanie, listen to you, like I just mentioned. And then he's coming out telling the public he has this whole program. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I felt a way, like I really felt a way about that because you tell me one thing and then you're off doing something else. And I remembered I had done a Healthy Minds, Healthy Bodies poster competition in primary schools. I had
Yes.
came up with this idea in 2022, and this was even before the National Nutrition Policy was rolled out in schools. I remember speaking to the Chief of Education about it, and she said it was an excellent idea. However, due to this displacement of the school, that it didn't materialize at that time. However, last year in 2024, I did go into the school. 4 schools came on board. They participated. And Marcy, we have health ambassadors in 4 of our primary schools because it was only a pilot program. I had a
Mhm.
whole sashing ceremony. They received their sashes, received their trophies. And I mean, like, it was supposed to be based on peer education, and then they were supposed to go into the communities and educate the persons in the communities through different activities like that. So when he came up with that idea, that just had me a little bit peeved, to be honest. However, I'm getting over it. I wish him the best of luck, success, because I'm all for the children, to be honest. But I believe honesty is the best policy.
Yes, because
Yeah,
you felt a way that
yeah,
an
I did.
idea that was presented in your
Yeah,
mind was then just used, and but
yeah.
did he ever get back to you about working together or anything?
Okay, well, remember I had mentioned just now that I had done a Facebook post.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember the exact date I would have done the Facebook post, but like 2 days after, remember the Sunday, he would have messaged me, and I was like, the minister is messaging me on a Sunday. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I did respond back to him, and we had a little back and forth conversation. I then reiterated the fact that what we had discussed before I was still interested in doing, and I had outlined it. And I also said to him, well, I would have received the donation from the Sandy Lane Trust, and I went ahead and I got 140 shirts printed. I was supposed to have a shirt so I could show you. I went ahead and got 140 shirts printed, and he didn't read the message. Well, I believe he read the message, but you can take off your read. I also that was on the 4th of July. On the 7th of July, I pinned that message. Obviously, when you pin a message, you're going to get that notification when the message has been pinned. And to date, Marcia, he has not responded back to me. And that is the part that has me feeling like, are you serious? Are you really serious about our nation's children? No, this is a program that can go so far. But what I have realized is that unless you're a friend or family, or you have certain persons backing you, you cannot do certain things here in Barbados. And that is the honest truth. That is how I feel. And it is
Mm-hmm.
wrong. It is wrong. It is very distasteful.
Mm-hmm.
It is very
Mm-hmm.
distasteful.
Wow. 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 Well, I mean, knowing you, because some of the time I met you, which was, I think during COVID is when I met you.
Yes.
Or yeah, during COVID, and you up until that point when I met you, you were working with the children in schools.
Yes. I
You
have
you
my
were
book
a,
club in two public schools. Yes. And I have my charity as well.
mm-hmm.
Yes.
You
And I
have
was
been.
also on the PTA president. I have a lot of
Yes.
different positions. Yeah.
Yes, that
I've done
actually
a lot of-
that's what I knew you as a PTA president, and
Yes.
you we would you've been on marches with us and so on,
Yes.
and so you've always been an advocate for children,
Yeah.
and so this is nothing new for you,
No,
and
it's not.
yes, I was asking people if the video was if it, okay, no, that okay. I was checking to see. I'm sorry, Stephanie. It seemed like we were having a technical issue, but
Okay.
it's cleared up. I'm sorry about that, but I want to encourage you to continue doing what you do, with the nation's children, and all the best in St. James North,
Thank
or
you.
wherever it is that you will continue your work. But we are in Barbados, and I know I'm sure you heard about the resignation or the firing, depending on how you look at it. You would have seen the press conference yesterday, very short press conference
Yes.
yesterday, and then you would have seen the former minister in his constituency, okay, with the people there,
Yes.
and they are surrounding him. I was told by somebody in St. James South, St. George South, that he held a big party for the constituents last night. Is what big fete was held last night for the constituents. Um, I want to, in all, you're hearing all of this. You would like to be an MP one day, member of parliament, whether independent, whatever. Um, what's going through your mind, Stephanie?
Well, firstly, for me, I believe that change is imminent, right? Things happen. 1 minute, someone is in a position, the next minute, they may not be. I try not to do too much speculating about what the reasons may be. However, my concern would be like for the last three resignations, we would hear one thing, it's because of personal issues, and then behind it, we hear a whole set of other stories. So for me, that is my concern. Like I feel we should be at the place where we come out and we tell the truth about what is going on. There's no need to tell the lies or to misinform the public, because at the end of the day, persons already know what is going on and the information will get out. So isn't it better to like be forthcoming than to have persons speculating, and then there's all this in the public domain. And I just think that it is really uncalled for. And Marcia,